Good deal. That answered that.
Well, welcome everybody. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Sandra Weitzel. I'm the current president of the North Carolina Science Teachers Association. And it's been an interesting year this past year. I want to welcome all of you that's come, and I especially want to welcome our awardees. We're so proud of each of you and what you've done in your classrooms. And we want to welcome your families and your colleagues and all the science teachers that have joined us here. And we want to welcome our speakers. And my job this morning is just to say that, welcome, and to introduce you to Carol Maiden, who is the past president for the North Carolina Science Teachers Association. Carol?
Good evening, everyone. We're so excited to have this opportunity to share this with you. Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, a native North Carolinian, uses her viral immunology expertise to create vaccine development for pandemic preparedness, including the mRNA 1273, a leading vaccine in the SARS-CoV-2. Its rapid deployment as a vaccine was impressive and unprecedented. She has a remarkable patent portfolio that is also impressive. And in all, she has over 15 years of experience studying a wide variety of viruses. She has an extensive list of articles and has received several prestigious awards, such as the Benjamin Franklin Next Gen Award and the Salzman Memorial Award in Virology, along with numerous other awards, and most recently, the 2021 Federal Employee of the Year Award, along with her colleague, Barney Graham. Combining her research goals with her knack for mentorship, Dr. Corbett invests much of her time in underserved communities as an advocator of STEM education and vaccine awareness. She went to the University of Maryland, Baltimore for an undergraduate degree, but she came home, as she calls it, to get her PhD from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. On a personal note, I should tell you that I have seen her on numerous news, TV shows, Facebook Live interviews, and as a presenter for STEM Women. I promise you, Dr. Corbett, I'm really not a stalker. Well, maybe a little bit for you. However, in listening to this, I was so impressed as I heard her discuss how you made difficult decisions on where to go next. She follows her dad's advice. Go where there is love. She believes that we should seek a place that fosters the next version of who we want to be. What great advice for us as she moves forward from NIH to Harvard, where she will be doing research in her own laboratory, her dream. With that, I'm going to tell you that there will be a question and answer session following her talk that will be moderated by Manly Midget. You can simply write your questions as you think of them in the chat, and they will be presented to her. So please welcome Dr. Kizzmekia, better known as Kizzy Corbett. We thank you, Dr. Corbett, for sharing your time with us today.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It's quite a pleasure to be visiting North Carolina, albeit virtually. You know, I actually am coming to North Carolina tomorrow because I'm in that season of my life where every one of my friends is getting married. So I'm at a wedding just about every other weekend nowadays. So it would have been nice to visit you all in person, but as I understand it, the conference is actually going to be happening next spring. And so I thought that as part of this award ceremony, one of the things that I would do really as an ode to Project Seed and Mr. Cutler, but really also as to kind of guide you all through the lessons that I've learned along my career trajectory. As was said, I've taken plenty of winding turns throughout my career, where I started in Hillsborough, North Carolina, which is that one exit off of Highway 85. And I am presenting virtually from my office at Harvard, where I'm now a professor in immunology and infectious diseases at the T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And, you know, that entire journey started with Project Seed. When I was 16 years old, I was given the privilege to work in Dr. Cutler's program that was funded by the American Chemical Society. And Project Seed allowed for me and other high school students to explore. That's really kind of the first lesson of it all, is that early exploration is the key. We were allowed to explore what science is from the laboratories, whether it be UNC or Duke, at colleges in North Carolina. And part of that exploration was built upon ACS is actually one of the most foundational programs like this. It's Project Seed, and the entire point of Project Seed is to give students from various backgrounds who typically would not have an in to work in a very prestigious chemistry laboratory like I did, the resources, and resources, generally speaking, are what matter when it comes to early childhood and teenage development. And then the third part of the Project Seed experience that really sticks out to me is that mentorship is monumental. So it really took for one really famous chemist to say, I'm going to open up my laboratory at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, every summer for a high school student, which is not generally what chemists say. But that type of mentorship and that type of guidance allowed me to kind of build upon that moment for the entirety of my career. And then I went from the North Carolina Project Seed to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where I was a Meyerhoff Scholar. And this is kind of at that moment when I was picking where to go for undergrad. This is where my dad's advice came in to say, he basically said, go where there is love. And what that meant to me was that teaching young people not to necessarily follow, the glitzer and the glam at many colleges, or even to follow the college experience, which is certainly not something that you get at an honors institution like UMBC, but to go to the place that's really going to foster the next step of your career. And for me, that was to get an undergraduate degree so that I can go off and get a graduate degree in the sciences and at some point become a professor at a Research One institution. The second thing that this particular part of my career helped me to understand is that money matters. College is expensive. Scholarship and leaving college without debt is something that really helps to set me apart from many of my peers. It allowed me to make foundational choices along the way in my career that were not based on money. Had I been in the search for, the most lucrative career to pay back student loans or what have you, I probably would have ended up in a pharmaceutical company. Not to say that's a bad career choice, but it wasn't what my heart necessarily desired. And then exploration, the continued exploration along this, you'll see this kind of theme along the way, is because one thing as science teachers that is that science is really dynamic. Science changes every single day. The way we think about science changes every single day. So in order to really mold a scientist, especially from the young age of 16 and onward, you really have to implant this exploration into each step of their career. And the Meyerhoff program alongside Project Seed were really good at that, because Meyerhoff didn't allow us to go home in the summer and just hang out with our friends like many of our other college peers, but we really had to go and do internships. And those internships set me and many of my peers in the Meyerhoff program above of other students, and it allowed me to go into getting a PhD at one of the top 10 schools of medicine in the country at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And so when I went to UNC, this was actually the first time that science became hard to me. And actually, but not in a bad way. So I think that having programs that fostered my growth to become this burgeoning science create a sphere around me so that I could be creative and so that I could learn and so that I could thrive, until I got to the point where it was time for me to get a PhD. The first time where it was really my entire purpose, anyone who gets a PhD, their entire purpose in that moment is to do something and figure out something that the world does not know yet about science or about how the world works, and to do that through experiments. And it was one of the first times that I realized that science was hard, but in a good way, because it taught me how to think. And I think that if I were to look back on all of the twists and turns of my career trajectory, that is one of the lessons that I wish I would have probably learned a little bit sooner, because it would have allowed me to be even better at thinking, designing experiments, analyzing data prior to getting to this moment when I'm 22 and at a top PhD program in the country. The second part is that we all know this, but we don't necessarily teach students this for whatever reason very early on, but network is your net worth. So this was a moment where I was meeting people from all walks of science all over the world, where I did different projects with different collaborators, and it became known to me that people who you impressed upon talked about you outside of when you left the room. So I could leave, but my name stayed in that room, especially if I left an impression on one or two people that were in that room. And so I tried to tell my niece this as she is, now a freshman in high school and becomes the person that she is destined to be, that, it doesn't matter if it's the woman at your local donut shop or one of your teachers, that leaving the type of impression that they would want to talk about you in glowing ways when you leave the room is so very important. And then again, the exploration never really stopped. And one of the things about my PhD that was different than many others is that I got to do some really cool science that most people in PhD programs, particularly in microbiology or immunology, didn't necessarily get to do, but that's because all of the steps along the way had taught me to think outside of the box, to explore the little details or the little things that other people were not exploring. And then I got to this point where I was at the world's most renowned vaccine research center in Bethesda, Maryland, at the National Institutes of Health. It is, the Vaccine Research Center is this place where, as you see on the bottom of the slide, they can take something from an engineering laboratory all the way through to advanced partnership. And that type of trajectory for a scientist to even be able to see from the outside looking in was something that I knew that I needed to see at this stage of my career. And the interesting thing about this place at the Vaccine Research Center that really stood out is that they did research on anything from AIDS all the way through to Zika, or from A to Z, so-called. And I happened to choose this baby right in the middle, MERS, which is a coronavirus that was causing a regional outbreak at the time that I got to the Vaccine Research Center, but really wasn't making enough noise to even take something all the way through to vaccine production and evaluation or advanced partnership. But for me, because I had been trained to think outside of the box, it became very clear to me that it was a field that would allow my creativity to thrive. And the thriving of that creativity led way to this entire massive vaccine response in the onset of the SARS-CoV-2, or as we call it, COVID-19 pandemic. And so I think back on like all of the lessons that I've learned in each of these steps. And the one thing that kind of stands out as the thing that continues to pop up is how my creativity was fostered at each individual step. And I wanted to make sure that I laid that out for you all as science teachers, because I know how difficult it is to have a classroom full of kids who you are really trying to get through these theories or this way of thinking for chemistry or physics or et cetera. But to be able to really zone in and hone in on each individual child creative knack really allows them to grow and develop into the person that they are kind of destined to be. And the first time that this was something, not sure why that's, I think there's someone.
Everyone needs to mute. Regina, Richard,
All right, let's see. Let me go back. So the first time that it became clear to me that, you know, my creativity was being fostered was when I actually got into Project Seed. The reason why I was pushed in that direction is because my parents would not allow me to be anything less than what I should be. In that I said I wanted a job, and they said, okay, well, if you're going to have a job, then you have to have a job with a scholastic slant to it. And so I found Project Seed, and Project Seed found me because of that advice and because of that blessing of my parents. And it really, in so many ways, likely saved me from going into a path that would not have been as fulfilling as the current career path that I have. And then there was the point when I got to undergrad, where I show, okay, I went to undergrad, I majored in biology, did really well, blah, blah, blah. But the undertone of that is that I went into undergrad as a biochemistry major and a pre-med major because that's just kind of what people did. And then I realized that I wanted to be a scientist. And not only that, but I realized that beyond my science at the bench, making vaccines or whatever, I was really interested in the health aspects of and how my science impacted people. And so I double majored in a social science, which is something that generally speaking, people don't necessarily do. But my creativity was really blessed by both my science professors and also my social science or sociology professors to mix those two things together. And because I was allowed to mix those two things together, it took me into a place where I got to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where I was studying dengue virus, but I was studying dengue virus from an angle that was very atypical for a microbiology student. So I was able to go into Sri Lanka, which is a small country in Southeast Asia, and study dengue virus there, and looking at actual samples from people who had been infected with dengue virus, which is completely different than a lot of other students were able to do. And all of this is because of the pivotal moment where my parents, and also in collaboration with my teachers and guidance counselors and et cetera, recognized that I had a thing and that all I needed was to be pushed in the right direction to really have that thing, which was my creativity, to be able to bloom. And so now, where am I? So now I am at Harvard as an assistant professor in the School of Public Health. And I thought about talking a little bit about the vaccine development efforts, but I chose not to do that because one of the things that is important, especially for the students that you all are teaching and the students that you all are mentoring, is to remind them that there is always this very next step. And most people would consider what just happened over the last year and a half to be the pivotal moment for any one science career. And I actually, in so many ways, really agree. But there's so many other things to study, and there's always another chance for you to be even more creative and for you to be even more innovative. And the reason why I end on this slide, and I end with all of the things that are to come, is because while I've learned these lessons along the way, the point is that I have so many other things to learn. And under the backdrop of being a professor at Harvard in the T.H. Chan School. And so I'm studying, my lab is going to be studying coronaviruses in the same way that I was doing at the National Institutes of Health, but we're going to branch out and study other nidoviruses, and we're going to apply all of that knowledge to many other viral families and really look at ways that we might be able to prevent future pandemics from happening in the future by using our viral immunology. And then the reason why I chose to come to a school of public health, as opposed to staying at the Vaccine Research Center, or as opposed to going and getting a lab at a school of medicine, is because it was very important for me to be able to use this backdrop of my science to advocate for equitable vaccine access and vaccine education. And it feels like the culmination of all of those lessons coming together. So being able to be given the access to the science and the resources to do that science well, and the leverage to be the creative person got me to this place. And it's this place where in my career where, and also not just my career, but also my person, where really anything is possible in the future. And I will leave you all on that note and answer questions.
So far, we haven't had a lot of questions in the chat. Folks need to go ahead and put a question in the chat if they'd like. I like to ask Dr. Corbett a question. I've been scanning the chat, but I haven't seen a lot of questions yet. People are agreeing with you, saying great and all that, but we don't have a lot of questions. Who has a question for Dr.
I'm always
Corbett?
happy to not answer questions too.
Oh, here we have a question here from Judy Jones. All right, Judy, why don't you go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Okay.
I can also, sorry.
That's fine. I'll start my video so you know that I'm really a person. So I live at a CCRC now because I'm an old person. But when we're talking here, we have this feeling like this virus will be with us always, that it'll be like the flu, we'll end up with vaccines every year, et cetera. And I was wondering what your thinking was about COVID-19.
Yes, the virus will be with us forever.
Okay.
The ideal pivotal moment is when we get from the point of which is a pandemic, but that it is what we call endemic, which means that we kind of coexist with the virus in a pretty healthy equilibrium in the way that we think about flu.
Right.
So every single season flu comes around. Unfortunately, still though, 50 or 60,000 people die every single year from flu, which is something that goes unsaid, but it's better than 600,000. And to get to that point would be a moment of success, I think, at least for our country, for COVID-19. There will be some time to go, right? Pandemics, the very unfortunate thing is that they're global. So we have to think outside of what is the USA, but that is the hope that we can get to that point.
Okay. That fits what I'm thinking.
Thank you, Judy. How about Mary Kate Holden?
Hi. Sorry, had to find the unmute. Yeah, Kizzy, great job. I'd like to know what would be the most important thing you would say to a sophomore biology student who you as a teacher think should pursue a science career path.
So, the most pivotal thing for me, I think, was me having to recognize that I should pursue a science career path for myself. And the only reason why I was able to do that is because I got to see what a science career path actually looked like. Like no one in my family has a PhD. Actually, I'm the first generation of my family to even go to a 4-year college. So no one in my family has a PhD outside of me, a couple other people now, but you know, having the access to see what a scientist did on a day-to-day basis was fairly eye-opening to me. And not just that what a science did, but that I could do it. Because when you're in high school, it's actually very hard to think of yourself as someone who could like develop a vaccine, right? But if you are watching that person do it and experiencing in that it alongside them, you start to see what the possibilities are. So finding ways for those children to explore. I do see that one of the questions is seed still available to students? And absolutely, yes, it is. I believe mostly in the Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill areas, if I'm not mistaken. And it's pared down quite a bit because, quite frankly, Mr. Cutler, I'm sorry, he should be doctor. He should have an honorary doctorate. We should just give him that. But Mr. Cutler, what he did was went above and beyond what the ACS, the American Chemical Society, could provide for seed, and provided money through grants and otherwise for it himself. And so, but Project Seed is available. There are so many various programs that are available. I know my cousin, for example, did one at North Carolina State, where they were there on campus every summer. Various universities around the country do have these various programs. And I have a thread on Twitter that if you search like Kizzy PhD high school programs or something, it probably will pop up. Because I try to like make sure people, I think Kaiser Permanente has a summer program for high school students. So there's so many different summer programs.
The UNC system still has programs at some of the historically African-American schools in North Carolina for summer programs. So if people are listening, they could look into those pre-college programs. Beth Bond had a question for you. Beth asked, what was the hardest part of creating
Yeah,
the vaccine?
sorry, I'm on the treadmill and I couldn't find my thing. Yeah, it's the life of a teacher. So I was wondering when you think the endemic portion when we will be in the endemic phase, and also I was wondering what was the hardest part of creating the vaccine?
It's very hard to say about the endemic phase. It could potentially be years, quite frankly, when we get there, because, you know, we sit in a bubble of privilege over here where we have, you know, a vaccine at CVS if we need it, but only about 10% of the world is at that level. And so, yeah, it'll probably be years, which is unfortunate, but that's just kind of the name of the game at this point, because we let the virus kind of get out of hand. And then I forgot the second question, but what was it again? I'm sorry.
What was the hardest part of creating the vaccine, in your opinion?
The hardest part is getting people to take it. Everything that went into creating the vaccine were the fruits of so much labor for years and years and years and years and years. And so we knew what to do, and we have faith in our abilities to do that. And I'm from North Carolina and I'm very Southern Baptist. So I sit in what is my purpose at all times. And so when I feel like it's the thing to do, that's what I do. And so that wasn't hard. And when something is like purpose driven, it also isn't hard to do it with a level of grit that it takes to move very swiftly through a vaccine regulatory process, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But teaching, being the world's vaccinology teacher is extremely difficult. To help people to understand that, you know, what a vaccine is and how it works, and that it's helpful, and that, you know, all of these things has been very hard. And so I would say that's been the hardest part. And then I had a very a career shift kind of in the middle of it too. And so transitioning into what is my own science, into my own lab has been, you know, it's a task, it's a thing. So that's been hard too.
We got about two
Thank
more
you so
questions.
much.
How about Rita Singh?
Hi, I'm really excited about this, and thank you for speaking with us.
Okay, thank you.
I'm an elementary school teacher, and so my question is about science, like your experience with science as a very young person in elementary school or middle school. You know, when did you start liking science, and what made you feel like it was something you wanted to do?
So I thought about putting this on one of my slides. So I have another slide set where that road like shows the different detours. And one of the detours is that I actually was not the best student. I mean, I made good grades, but I don't necessarily call that being a great student. I thought I knew everything, and I thought I was a teacher half the time. I didn't think I needed to go to class because I was so good at class, and I could take tests in my sleep. And I did math problems actually purposely in a different way than a math teacher taught it, because I wanted to teach the math teacher how to do math problems more efficiently. I was that kind of student. And so I actually, for something like science, where you are learning, for the large part, at least in primary education, you're learning theories a lot. It's like, it wasn't fun. So I actually did not like science from a classroom perspective. I still don't, which is why I'm teaching graduate students, because I get to just like walk in and say, hey, we're gonna, I don't know, whatever we want to do today. And so I didn't know that I liked science until I got to a lab and realized like what science was, and that for every single theory that I was learning out of the book, someone had to discover that thing. And that became very cool to me. And learning the scientific process became very cool to me. And how to analyze data became very cool to me. So I was 16, and it was really the Project Seed experience that transformed. I probably would have ended up being a rich person on Wall Street because I like numbers.
Oh, great.
Otherwise, I just wouldn't have known that I like science in this way.
Dr. Corbett, we got a question from Keith Cutler, but I'd like to postpone that and make that our last question. Keith, I hope that's okay. Let me skip over, and I got a couple others. How about Ruby Cotton?
Yes, I just wanted to know, you mentioned that we kind of let the virus get out of hand. What scientifically could we do to maybe prevent any type of epidemic, pandemic like that in the future?
There's actually a whole field of science called pandemic preparedness. And it's a thing. And, you know, part of what happened is not the best level of surveillance. I'm talking about particularly in this case, very early surveillance to be able to say, oh my God, there's something really bad going on. And also early public health mitigation strategies. So, you know, viruses are only as smart as we allow ourselves to not be smart. So they need our cells inside of our body to replicate. So if we take away, they don't have anywhere to go. And we just were not good at that. And so the things in science that are going to have to get better are certainly going to be on the surveillance side of things, and also our ability to, on a very mass scale, put in some public health measurements that will allow or disallow, sorry, viruses from transmitting around the globe so quickly. And, you know, we talk about pandemic preparedness and, we're trying to predict when the next one could and might happen. And it could be tomorrow, or it could be 100 years from now. And we don't know because we don't have the science and the technology really to tell us that yet. Hopefully not in my lifetime, because I will not be doing this again.
Let's go to Sally's question. Is it Cincinnati or Cincinnati?
Cincinnati, yep.
Okay.
I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the research that was that you were doing that was done before COVID-19 emerged that enabled this vaccine to be developed so quickly.
And how much time do I have?
I think we got about maybe 10 minutes to go total. We do have Keith's question to answer as well. One more question after this one.
All right, let me just run through like 3 slides really quickly. I normally wouldn't do this, but this is fairly important. All right, so these are the slides that I took out, but this is the timeline of the vaccine development. So everyone knows that we saw the first reports of the respiratory virus outbreak in China towards the latter parts of 2019. And that meant that the sequences came out in 2020 around January, and then we went into a phase 1 clinical trial. But a lot of what isn't known is all of this work that went in prior to the pandemic. So that work basically focused in on this one protein. So this on the left-hand side in the purple is a coronavirus. And then on the right-hand side is a cell in our body that has a cell receptor. So you can think about this spike protein on the surface as a key to unlock the cell, to allow the virus to get inside of the cell and then replicate. So we needed to know all about that spike protein. And when I got to the lab at the Vaccine Research Center, this is what the literature looked like. There was literally like nothing known about it. And we started to discover things about the spike protein, and particularly, as is highlighted in the red, how that protein could be used to make a really good vaccine. And so we figured out how to make the protein into a really good vaccine insert by putting mutations right here in the middle of that protein. And so these proteins, their entire job is to flip on themselves so that they can insert part of themselves into the host cell, and then the virus starts to replicate, blah, blah, blah. So you want to be able to show the body the protein in a very pre-flipped form, or the pre-fusion form, which is this form right here, this mushroom. And to lock the protein into that mushroom shape, we included 2 proline mutations. And those 2 proline mutations worked beautifully, so well that we knew that they made a really, really good immune response. But if you want to go really quickly in a pandemic, you can't be making jug loads, factory boat loads of protein in a lab, because that takes years and years and years. And so to skip over making protein in the lab, we decided in collaboration with Moderna that we would put that protein into messenger RNA and allow that messenger RNA, when you give it to the body, allow the body cell to basically be the protein factory. And we did all of that in the backdrop of another coronavirus called MERS that was circulating from 2013, and it's actually still circulating a little bit, but nevertheless, from 2013 onward. And so before getting to the point where we had this pandemic, we had figured out how to make the vaccine insert, what mutations to encompass, and then also the best way to deliver that vaccine very quickly in order to basically allow us to manufacture a vaccine that could potentially beat the virus from spreading around the world. And so that is years and years and years and years of research. And that's just under my particular team at the Vaccine Research Center. That's not even talking about the teams all over the world who did the fundamental messenger RNA research to understand how to give a body messenger RNA and all of those things. And so hopefully that helps to clarify how we got to go so quickly.
Well, that's impressive, Dr. Corbett. We got one question that we might actually postpone until after we've seen a video with Ken. It's from Keith Cutler. He asked if you have any favorite stories. Keith, you want to unmute?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Corbett, I just wanted to know if you had any favorite stories about Mr. Cutler or about Seed in general in your time there.
No, I don't have necessarily any favorite stories, but I will tell about, there are a lot of parts of me that come from my Project Seed experience, because Project Seed was where I would like to say, like, where I became a scientist, quite frankly. I'm now being called a scientist expert and all these things, but I was a scientist when I was 16, and I was really molded into that person because someone like Mr. Cutler saw that in me very early on. And he was very particular about picking up on things that people already had in them to make them not just a better scientist, but just a better human being. So one of the reasons I actually just got an email from somebody with a lot of power, because I met them and I followed up with them, not for any reason other than this is just what I do, with an email. And I remember one time after an internship, like an internship summer, I was like, oh my God, the summer was so great. Like, I really want to send the person that I worked in their lab, I really want to send them something. And then Mr. Cutler was like, you could just tell them. You don't really have to send them anything. And that moment was so transformational for me, because literally every single time I meet someone that has any type of impact on me, I remind them of the type of impact that they had on me. And I remember that when he passed away, in the Facebook group, God, don't make me cry, but in the Facebook group with everyone was talking about what they wish they would have said. And I didn't feel that way, because I was constantly, every single turn of my career, reminding him of the impact that he had on me. And so one of my most memorable moments is just being able to, Project Seed was beyond a place where kids who didn't have the resources could become scientists, but it was a place where kids who could just like grow into the people, that they were. I was a Southern girl raised by like a Southern grandma. I always wanted to send the gift, but Mr. Cutler reminded me that it was just really about just telling people like what they meant to you. And that's just one story. And it goes without saying that Project Seed, I was introduced to the Meyerhoff Scholarship Program. I was introduced to the National Institutes of Health. I was introduced to we were in California with like posters. He really had a program that was so foundational in showing us the breadth of what it looks like, even from this seat that I'm in. This is what we were doing when I was 16, was what professors do. They travel, they talk about their work, they go and they visit universities, and they go and they speak at the National Institutes of Health. And we got to experience all of that, really from like a bus from North Carolina. But yeah, it's so many different memories. And I met some of my best friends in Project Seed, because when you come from where I'm from, people, when you're smart, you're kind of, you're singular. And I say smart very loosely, because there's street smart too, which is a thing, and that's important. But when you're book smart, it's very singular, but then I came to the summer program where everybody was as book smart, but then also as cool as me. And so my best friend I met in Project Seed, one of my other best friends who unfortunately passed away, I met in Project Seed. And so, yeah, Project Seed is just, I don't know what's happening with Project Seed right now, but at that point, Project Seed was just simply unparalleled as a program.
Dr. Corbett, we want to thank you today, and I'm sure that Sandra and Carol will come on now and thank you. I'll be back in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about Ken just a few minutes.
Okay.
We do thank you so much, Dr. Corbett. I just got a message in the chat from one of my students, former students at the university that I taught at. And it's such a pleasure to see what happens for all of us who are teachers. The influence that you had under Ken Cutler, the influence that others of us sitting here have had on our students as we try to encourage them, to guide them. And it was just a surprise to me to see that message in the chat. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us to remind ourselves of the influence that we have on promoting those possible careers in science. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, this is Manley. We're very honored. The North Carolina Science Teachers Association would like to present the 2021 NCSTA Lifetime Achievement Award to Ken Cutler. As a longtime friend of Ken's, it's my great honor to be able to share some of his achievements with you. And what we'd like to do is start by showing you a short video recorded by WRL TV a few years ago about as a program that Ken organized, operated, and loved dearly. And you've been hearing about Project Seed. And so this is a little short clip about Project Seed that Elisa is going to play. We still see the slide, Elisa.
Opportunity from Northampton County to conduct research at Duke University is unheard of.
This year, 40 students from across the state have a similar opportunity, but it's not just about the research. These students also take SAT prep classes, and a scholarship coordinator works to find ways to pay for college.
Slide,
She would call
Elisa.
me during school and tell me.
Lisa will have us hooked up here in just a minute, I think.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, yeah.
15 students.
Here we go.
It's coming.
Or DNA.
Next year, Andy Smith will go to Duke along with Danielle Black.
Because I want to go into forensic pathology.
Rakeem Chesney will head to Wake Forest, all of them on a free ride or close to it.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Parents even more excited.
The matter of presenting them with the opportunity to show what they can do.
A way to grow futures in a lab. Erin Hartness, WRAL News, Durham.
Great for them. UNC and NC State also participate in projects.
COVID-19 put new demands on technology at home, and if it leaves you...
Okay. Lisa, is it back to me? Can you see me, Ann? We okay? Okay, I'm going to go continue. And I got some things here I'll need to read because I might have trouble getting through them unless I'm reading them. But I'm sorry to announce that we lost Ken last February, as you've heard already. One of the last favors Ken did for us was to convince Dr. Corbett to join us at our conference. We lost Ken much too soon. It's my honor to be able to share some of Ken with you now. After his family moved to Ahoskie, North Carolina, Ken graduated from Elizabeth City State University. I met him a little after that when we were both young graduate students at NC State. Even then, he had a big, booming, infectious laugh that lit up the room. That's why I'm glad you got to see the little video there, so you got to see a little glimpse of Ken. Ken worked at the North Carolina Math Science Education Network in its infancy in Chapel Hill, and he continued to work with the network as he taught at Durham High School and Hillside High. I've enjoyed talking about some of this time at those two schools with his teaching colleagues over the last few weeks, and hope some of them are here tonight as we honor Ken. And I have seen them, several of them popping up on the participants, which is great. Ken was a great teacher and motivator. In addition to his teaching, he served as the Region 3 Science and Engineering Fair Director for many years. He wasn't just the director, though. He was very successful in nudging and guiding many students to conduct scientific research and defend their findings. Ken offers students an after-school opportunity to learn science in a special molecular biology class. He was known to grab students roaming the hall of Hillside, pull them into the class, where they soon learned that they really did have an interest in science. During this time and later, when he moved to teaching at NC Central University, Ken developed many grants and led numerous workshops to help students and teachers in science. I was fortunate enough to work with Ken on several of those workshops. One of Ken's happiest moments was when he took a group of students to Washington to present their work, and the group met Colin Powell. I guess it's like Dr. Corbett said, they went all over traveling, and in one of their travels, they got to meet Colin Powell, which was really special. The video we showed earlier highlighted Project SEED and highlighted Ken as its director. One of Ken's most effective talents was working with students from groups that were typically underrepresented in the fields of math and science. He worked with the American Chemical Society to offer Project SEED, summer experiences for the economically disadvantaged. Hundreds of those students have been successful in pursuing science careers. Even those who did not move into a science career gained a greater knowledge and appreciation for understanding the world around us. Over 30 of the Project SEED students are now doctors in many fields of science and education. And we know one that really made it big, don't we, Dr. Corbett? And we are very proud of her. NCSTA is proud to present Ken Cutler's Lifetime Achievement Award to Josie Cutler, Ken's wife, who was always so supportive throughout his career and life. I leave you with this thought about Ken. And Dr. Corbett has said this several times throughout what she's had to say today. You'll know this, and this is very important. Ken not only opened doors for many students, he showed them how to open doors for themselves. A part of Ken goes on in those students whose lives he touched. We will benefit for many decades from the spark that Ken started, as that spark is passed on by those students to future generations. Thank you. And I was honored to be able to say those things about Ken.
What a horrible story for that family. Amanda Lamb, live in Sanford. Thank you.
And now we're going to move to our main part of our awards presentation, and Lisa Whitcliffe from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte will be our moderator for the remainder of the session today. Take it away, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Manley. So this evening, we're here also to celebrate our other NCSTA award winners. We'll be presenting the awards in this order that you see. And if you'll take a look at the state, you can see that we have excellent science education leaders throughout our state. Each slide, I am going to announce the award and the name of the award recipient. And what you'll see on each slide, and we'll give you time to read it, is a quote from the nominator for this teacher, educator, leader in science education. Also, we have a picture. We asked them to give us their favorite quote, and so you'll have a chance to look at that quote as well. We also list where they're teaching and some of their science activities. So there's a lot of information on each slide, and we appreciate you taking the time to read and learn about these excellent science educators in North Carolina. Our first winner is for the John Park Outstanding High School Student Teaching Award is Marissa Thomas. Our second winner is Brad Rue, and he is the winner of the Joe Duckett Wallace Elementary School Distinguished Service in Science Education Award winner. The next winner is Melaine Rickard, and she's the Ann Watkins Middle School Distinguished Service Award winner in science education. The next winner is Tim Guilfoyle, and he is the Nancy Wynn High School Distinguished Service in Education, Science Education Award winner. The next winner is Howard Ginsberg, and he is the Ann and Bill Palmer Administration Supervisor, Distinguished Service in Science Education Award winner. The next winner is Jack Dayton. He's the NCSTA Commercial Distinguished Service in Science Education Award winner. The next winner is Tanya Poole, and she is the NCSTA Non-School Setting Distinguished Service in Science Education Award winner. Our next winner is Don Carpenetti, and he's the NCSTA College Distinguished Service in Science Education Award winner. Next, we always announce the National Association of Biology Teachers Outstanding Biology Teacher Award. And this year it goes to Bert Wartsky. Next, we'd like to recognize Dorothy Hawley, and she is the 2021 Grant Award recipient, NCSTA Grant Award recipient. Our first outstanding award, teaching award, is given to Stephanie Hardison, and she is the NCSTA District 1 Outstanding Elementary Award in Science Education winner. Nicole Skurin is the NCSTA District 1 Outstanding Middle School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Obioma Chukwu, and that he is the NCSTA District 1 Outstanding High School Award in Science Education winner. Our next winner is Danielle Yoakum, and she's the NCSTA District 2 Outstanding Elementary Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Kristen Kane, and she's NCSTA District 2 Outstanding High School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Annette Steele. She's NCSTA District 3 Outstanding Elementary Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Alexandra Boyd, and she's NCSTA's District 3 Outstanding High School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Rick Johnston, and he's NCSTA District 4 Outstanding Elementary Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Stephanie McGirt, and she's NCSTA District 4 Outstanding Middle School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Matthew Poston, NCSTA District 5 Outstanding Middle School Award in Science Education winner. Our next winner is Latasha McCarter, NCSTA District 5 Outstanding High School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Kara Burnett, NCSTA District 6 Outstanding Elementary Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Jonathan Robinson. He's the NCSTA District 6 Outstanding Middle School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Nicole Sherrill. She's the NCSTA District 6 Outstanding High School Award in Science Education winner. Our next winner is Renee Paguta White. She's the NCSTA District 7 Outstanding Elementary Award in Science Education winner. Next winner is Crystal Luce, NCSTA District 7 Outstanding Middle School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Wendy Wiseman, District 7 Outstanding High School Award in Science Education winner. The next winner is Renata Crawley, NCSTA District 8 Outstanding Elementary Award in Science Education. The next winner is Jason Carter, NCSTA District 8 Outstanding Middle School Award winner in Science Education. Next is Kristen Holt, the NCSTA District 8 Outstanding High School Award in Science Education winner. So at this time, we'd like to congratulate all of the NCSTA Distinguished Service Award winners and our district award winners. And now I'd like to invite Carol Maiden to come online and present our final award for NCSTA. This is the Vi Hunsucker Award, and it's one of our highest awards given. And so the Vi Hunsucker Award, which we have today, and Judy Day is our recipient, and we are so proud of Judy, and I've known her for years, as many of you have. And Judy, I have to say, I'm sorry we tricked you into saying that you were going to come here and make an announcement about science fairs, but we wanted you here and we wanted to surprise you, and we hope you are surprised. The The Vi Hunsucker Award is named after NCSTA's founder and first president, and who helped actually get the organization started in 1969. The award recognizes an outstanding science teacher who has gone above and beyond with a sustained body of work beyond just the normal job that spans for many years and serves students and teachers throughout North Carolina. Judy has done this. One example, just one, is that every year she accompanies our student researchers to the International Science and Engineering Fair, which is always on Mother's Day. So she's never with her family at that time. And so she's always been so dedicated that she gave up that time to be with her students. And as you can see here, the quote from her nominator, Judy's work has touched hundreds of thousands of North Carolina students. Many of them suggest that their interest in science and career aspirations began and grew as they conducted student research in science or engineering. Every year we receive new testimonials from scientists, doctors, researchers, engineers, and other professionals who stress the importance of their early experience with the North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair. Even in her retirement, if you can call it that, from the Office of Student Research at NC State University, Judy continues to work with the NCSEF and science teachers across North Carolina. It is important to point out that the work that she has done was done as a volunteer. I am sure that Judy has done much more, and therefore a better candidate for this award could not be possible. As a former recipient of the Vi Hunsucker Award, and this comes from Manly Midget, as a former recipient of it, and a member from over 40 years, it is his thoughts that this is long overdue to recognize Judy Day with this award. So congratulations, Judy. We are so excited and proud of you as always. And now we're going to turn it over to you for a few moments to make comments.
Okay, well, I have my announcement about the North Carolina Science. Ready to go.
I'm sorry, we did.
That's okay.
We had to get you here some way.
Well, I was all prepared, but I am just completely blown away to be in the same, be considered in the same company of the former winners of this award, because I know so many who have received it, and I am really truly honored. But thank you so much. I do this because I love doing it, and I love seeing the impact it has on students, and I truly enjoy going to the international competition and seeing the students being transformed by what they see and what they're engaged in. So thank you very much, and thank you to everyone.
And now you actually can go ahead and make your announcement, Judy.
So We are having a North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair this year. Most all the regional fairs have already set their dates. And if you go to our website at ncsef.org, you can see those. And we have something this year, and this was the one link I was going to send to everyone, that has posted all of the student projects that were at the state fair last year. So you can actually go in and see the project information that the students did. So it's a great teaching tool for teachers to be able to use with their students. But like I said, I was all prepared, but thank you.
I was sure you would be, Judy. But again, congratulations. Well-deserved accolades to you for your many years of dedication.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Congratulations, Judy. I just want to say thank you for attending. We're going to have a short board meeting, Sandra Weitzel is going to speak in a moment, but I wanted to take a second and thank our 2021 NCSTA Awards Committee, Michelle Chadwick, Beverly Lyons, Ann McClung, Manly Midget, and the NCSTA Grant Award Program, Carrie Jones, and our National Association of Biology Teachers Award, Judy Jones. So thank you very much.
And this is not a board meeting.
Sorry.
This is a recognition of this year's board, and they've just been great. And we can just go on through it, Alyssa. That we have a set of officers. Of course, Carol Maiden has been speaking to you. She's the past president. Mary Kate Holden will be the president as soon as we finish here today. And this current secretary is Brad Woodard from Pitt County, and the treasurer, Mary Ellen Durham. And then the district directors you've been seeing at the bottom of your screen. So Cliff Hudson, Michelle Chadwick, Kristana Rogers, and Adrian Evans, Brad Rue, Tim Guilfoyle, Lindsay Smith, and Tom Savage have all done a great job this year in engaging teachers in their districts. And we have a number of, in addition to those elected positions on the board, we have a number of positions that bring resources and information to the board. And Manly Midget, you know, Carrie Jones, Ann McClune, Laura Lauder, Lisa Tully, Brian Whitson, Tamika Altman, Gavin Fidel, Allie Dinwiddie, Tammy Rimsberg, Amanda Clapp, Mike Talley, Ralston James, Carolyn Elliott, and Alyssa Wycliffe. And some of these folks you know from different places. And I just want to thank all of those on the board for the patience this year with remote meetings and just trying to get together a conference that is not happening in person, but will happen virtually in February. We'll get to that in a minute. We had an election this fall, and here's the newly elected group. Cliff Hudson, who was previously a District 1 director, will be the president-elect. Secretary Brad Woodard is going to continue his good work. In District 2, Michelle Haffey. District 4, Kelly Fricklin. District 6, Carrie Fugel. And District 8, Tom Savage is going to come back and serve again. Thank you so much. And we had such a lovely Launch Your Science program into a higher orbit, a lovely theme, and lots of speakers set and ready to go for an in-person, and it just didn't work out. So we're taking this on the road February 15th, 16th, 17th, and then on the Saturday, the 19th. And there'll be some great sessions, and I think you can really see an agenda online. And you do have to register, and there is a registration fee, $75, but up to 4 CEUs are available. And last but not least, we are determined to have an in-person PDI, Professional Development Institute Conference next November, the 3rd and 4th at the in Winston-Salem. So really hope you save the date for that, and we really hope to see you. Oh, I guess one more thing. My last act as president is to pass this gavel to your incoming president. Congratulations, Mary Kate. I know you'll do a great job.
Thank you, Sandra. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to leading this group. We've got a wonderful board coming in, and I know we're going to do some really remarkable things. And having 2 PDIs, one virtual and one in person in the same year is going to be really awesome. So I hope people will register for both of them. Certainly for the one in February, it's going to be really awesome, even if it is online. There are a lot of networking opportunities for teachers, and we're really looking forward to it. If anyone is interested in serving in a leadership position for this group, please let me know. We are always looking for people on the board and on committees to help pilot this big ship forward. So please let us know if you have any interest in helping us out. Thank you.
I guess, Mary Kate, you can dismiss us.
All right.
Lisa, Ann,